All right, buckle up, because this deep dive, well, this one's taking us straight into Blink Twice. You know, the Zoe Kravitz film, the one that has, like, everyone buzzing.
And buzzing might be putting it lightly from the looks of this stack of
For
reviews.
real. It's wild, right? Everyone seems to have seen a totally different movie. We've got Get Out comparisons, whispers of Triangle of Sadness, even someone threw in Jeffrey Epstein. So, like, what is the deal with this film?
I think what's really fascinating here is that it's not just a love it or hate it kind of situation. There's this real, wait, what did I just watch? Energy in these reviews. That's what we need to unpack.
Okay, let's unpack this thing. You're totally right. Before we get to those wild theories about red bags, and everyone keeps mentioning red rabbit, we should probably get everyone on the same page. You sent over a plot summary and, like, some transcript excerpts too, right?
Yeah, we've got it all right here. So, okay, Blinked Twice. It all starts with Frida, a cocktail waitress who, you guessed it, catches the eye of a tech billionaire named Slater King.
Because of course it's a tech billionaire. I swear, is it even a thriller in 2024 if there isn't some shadowy tech guy involved?
Right, it's basically a requirement now. But yeah, so Frida and Slater, he basically whisks her away to his private island.
Classic thriller recipe. Unsuspecting protagonist, check. Secluded location, check. Sprinkle in some unsettling events, and baby, you got yourself a stew going. It's giving Glass Onion, you know. But the whole tech billionaire thing, or the menu, that totally claustrophobic restaurant setting.
Exactly, limited location thriller, you nailed it. Trap those characters together, let the tension just simmer. The setting basically becomes a character, like closing in on them.
And based on these reviews, Blink Twice definitely brings the tension. But, like, is it good tension? Some people are calling it surprisingly good, and others are saying it's, like, the worst thriller they've ever seen. So how do we even reconcile that?
One thing that keeps popping up, even in the positive reviews, is the pacing. People mention a really slow start, and then bam, a rushed ending, like the movie couldn't decide how fast it wanted to go.
Yeah, so pacing, huh? But a movie's not just about how fast or slow it goes, right? What about, like, the actual good stuff? What's, the deal with all of that?
Totally, and that's where Blink Twice gets really interesting, even for those who are like, on the fence about it. Remember that quote about smoking, eating, drinking, swimming repeated 10 times?
Oh, yeah. Doesn't exactly scream cinematic masterpiece, does it?
Right. But here's the thing. Those little details, they kind of take on a whole new meaning when you consider the themes that this film is supposedly tackling. Toxic masculinity, trauma, cancel culture. It's like Kravitz is intentionally trying to lull us into this false sense of security, mirroring what the characters are experiencing as they get drawn into Slater King's world.
Okay, now that is some deep analysis. So you're saying those first 80 minutes, they're not just slow, they're, like, setting a very specific mood.
Exactly. And within that mood, that atmosphere, we've got all these little details, right? Reviewers keep mentioning these red bags that everyone's carrying around, that phrase, red rabbit, the constant emphasis on memory.
It's like she's dropping these little breadcrumbs. But are they clues? Or are they, like, totally meant to throw us off?
Exactly. That ambiguity, that not knowing what's real, what's manipulation. That's what makes this film so interesting. It's messing with our expectations, just like it messes with the characters' memories.
And speaking of messing with expectations, can we talk about Zoe Kravitz for a sec? This was her directorial debut, right? So how is she doing behind the camera?
Well, the reviews on her directing are just as all over the place as the opinions on the film itself. Some people are praising her style, calling it, like, visually stunning, while others felt it was a bit too self-aware, Even a little gimmicky sometimes.
So, like, some people wanted something more subtle, while others were into the, bolder choices.
Exactly. And that's what's so interesting about, like, first-time directors. They're still figuring out their style, taking risks, which means you're going to have people who love it and people who don't. It's bound to be divisive, But it also makes you think, right, what works, what doesn't, and why?
Totally. It's all part of the process. Finding your voice, experimenting, seeing what sticks. But even with all the focus on Kravitz as a director, were there any performances that stood out?
Even the harshest critics seem to agree on one thing. Naomi Ackie as Frida is phenomenal. She just delivers this powerhouse performance, really capturing Frida's struggle with amnesia. You feel her vulnerability, but also, like, this inner strength as she tries to piece together her past.
Which makes sense, right? She's the one who's trying to figure out this whole memory loss mystery. Like, she has to question everything and everyone around her.
Exactly. And then, on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, you've got Channing Tatum playing the scary tech billionaire Slater King.
Scary how? Are we talking, like, brooding, charismatic cult leader?
Yeah.
Scary. Or running through the woods with an axe scary.
Think more like wolf in sheep's clothing scary. It seems like Tatum is really leaning into the unsettling nature of Slater's power, subverting his usual, charming persona.
Okay, interesting. So not your typical Channing Tatum role then. I could see how that would be unexpected.
It's clever casting, though. Seeing Tatum, who we usually associate with charm, embody this potentially dangerous billionaire, it adds this whole other layer of discomfort to the film. Like Kravitz is forcing us to question our own perceptions of these tech giants.
It's crazy how Kravitz uses these, unexpected casting choices to mess with us,
Yeah.
But speaking of things that mess with your mind, what about that disclaimer? A couple of these reviews mentioned it, the one at the beginning of the film. What's the deal with that? Content warnings? Legal stuff? Or something else entirely?
It's tough to say for sure without more context, but this film seems to be all about keeping us guessing, right? So it could be Kravitz's way of just prepping us for the ride. Like she's saying, okay, everyone buckle up because things are about to get weird.
And that's a bold move, right?
Yeah.
To put a disclaimer right up front, like she's daring us to question what we're about to see, makes you wonder if, maybe the film itself is a commentary on how we watch movies, especially when it comes to, darker, more complex topics.
Totally. And that actually connects to another thing that keeps coming up. That whole forgetting is a gift line. It makes you think, right? Is Blink Twice asking us if ignorance really is bliss? Especially when you're dealing with, someone as potentially dangerous as Slater King.
Okay, see, this is what I'm talking about. My brain is officially going a mile a minute now. We've got all these layers of possible meaning, but then there's that whole Jeffrey Epstein comparison that one reviewer brought up. It's hard to ignore those parallels when you've got this, super rich, influential guy who might be using his power to manipulate the people around him.
It definitely adds this unsettling layer of realism to the film, right?
Yeah.
When you think about it like that. Kravitz puts these young women in this situation with this guy, this charismatic but potentially dangerous guy, and it taps into this very real fear, right?
Yeah.
About how power dynamics work, especially when wealth and influence can shield people from facing consequences.
It's like she's forcing us to confront these uncomfortable truths about the world, about the systems we live in. No wonder this movie is stirring up so much conversation.
Exactly. And honestly, that's a good thing, right? It's not trying to give us all the answers or tie everything up neatly. It's sparking debate, making us think, inviting different interpretations. That's what makes it stick with you.
So, after this deep dive, after going through all of this, where do we even land? Would you recommend Blink Twice? Should we all be rushing out to see it, or is it a hard pass?
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it? Look, it's clear that this movie is not going to be for everyone. If you're looking for a fast-paced, straightforward thriller, this ain't it. But if you're looking for something that challenges you, that's visually stunning, that features some truly amazing performances, and will leave you thinking long after it's over, then yeah, Blink Twice might be just the ticket.
So basically, it sounds like Blink Twice is a film that demands your attention, it keeps you on the edge of your seat, second-guessing everything, and it might even keep you up at night.
Exactly. But hey, don't say we didn't warn you. And as always, don't forget to blink twice.